the first baseball buddies. You know this little guy. He's Anthony, I'm Daddy. We are starting our occasional hot stove league discussion about the Milwaukee Brewers and about Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
We are on Thanksgiving vacation in the bucolic and beautiful settings of where this little man's grandmother is still calls home, where mommy is from, West Virginia.
Yeah. Today has been a crazy day for the Brewers and has drove me crazy. And that is because the Brewers traded away Zach Davies and Trent Grisham to the Padres for Luis Urias and Eric Lauer.
And we're talking about Zach Davies, a veteran pitcher for the Brewers who's had his successes, had some failures over time.
Yeah.
And Trent Grisham, the man who was in some ways blamed for the failure in the wild card game, but I don't necessarily think he deserves as much blame as what people think.
Yeah.
But he is set to be a pretty productive major leaguer, so you would wonder why the Brewers would make such a move like this.
So it's really interesting. At first, when he told me this today, I was very confused. I was like, what in the world is going on? Why are we trading? And
you wanted to borrow mommy's bazooka.
I have no idea what he's referring to.
Yes, you do.
I don't remember. Okay.
Inside joke, but go ahead.
So, this could be making room for Steven Strasburg or Garrett Cole or Mike Moustakas. You know, one of those guys. That is, or maybe two of them. We'll talk about that later.
Sure.
So you know, it's going to make room for maybe a big free agent name. But we both thought that by next year, the Brewers were going to be playing an interesting utility, right?
We were discussing the possibilities of rotating numerous players in numerous different positions. David Stearns and Craig Counsell have always had the philosophy, and I can speak more in general terms than about specific players themselves, but a general philosophy that you're more valuable to the Brewers if you can play multiple positions, because it means you can crack into the lineup more, you can be used as a replacement player in later innings more often, and you can use your offensive skills more often in the lineup if you can play more defensive positions. It lets players rest in certain opportunities, and it also brings up different lineup opportunities for Counsell when they have to face particular pitchers. And he's used that to his advantage in a lot of ways to help the Brewers, a team that may not necessarily have World Series level talent, compete to get to the World Series.
Yeah. This is something where Trent Grisham, I thought, was going to be a guy that would play left field for the Brewers, because when does Ryan Braun's contract end?
It, I believe, is going to be pretty soon.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next couple of years. I'd have to look it up specifically. We'll put that in the notes after we publish this video.
So what happened? So what we were thinking, or at least I was thinking, is Ryan Braun is slowing down. He's not hitting as many home runs. Put him at third base. He's a great defensive player, and more than likely the Brewers aren't going to sign Mike Moustakas back, or Anthony Rendon, or Josh Donaldson.
I could see them still signing Moustakas in the right situation for the right money. So I'm not going to count that out completely, but I see where you're coming from.
And Corey Spangenberg, if they re-signed him, he would be a great player that can play at the infield. Luis Urias, though, the guy we got in this trade, he can play every infield position except for first base. So that's a big yes. He had a really good average in OPS. Eric Lauer, not so good. Had a bad ERA. In the minors, how did he do?
Decent in the minors. But I mean, he had a 4.4 ERA, which isn't horrific, but it's not what you would want out of a top 5 starting pitcher.
I'll just say it's not Matt Garza bad.
Right.
For now, it's a bad move, in my opinion. But in the future, it could possibly be a good move for the future.
I've always been a believer you don't judge a trade, no matter what sport it is. You don't judge a trade or a draft pick or a free agent signing until 3 years down the road, when you've actually had some evidence of what they've been able to put on their resume with the team. So I'm always hopeful for it. I think on initial glance, this sounds like a move to be able to have players that are going to be around a long time, who have the potential to be top quality major leaguers in time, but they're not there yet. And I think there's always this worry for Brewers fans, especially when you have a guy like a Christian Yelich in your lineup. Well, should they be going all out in order to win a World Series championship and go all out now? I see the worry behind that. I see the reason behind that. But I feel like David Stearns' philosophy is, let's get a bunch of guys who we know are going to be around a long time, many of whom have that top-level talent, whom we can develop into a team with a bunch of different players. That way we build a roster with no weaknesses, and then with a couple of pieces on your roster, you go out and get your big guns. You get your big free agents. That's what they tried to do with Lorenzo Cain and the trade for Christian Yelich, and it panned out into getting 5 wins from a World Series championship. I feel like that's the philosophy behind the trade.
Yeah, for sure.
Many of you saw last week the release of the Milwaukee Brewers' new jerseys. Their 50th anniversary jerseys that they came out with. They harken back a lot to the Barrelman and the original design, but with some new touches, as well as the new augmented old 1980s ball and glove logo, going with the navy and yellow format, like what you see here on a hat that this little guy's wearing, and making those their permanent new colors, getting rid of the old gold, the Notre Dame style gold, getting rid of the M logo, and really trying to sort of go back to the future in some ways, go back to an old style logo, but move it forward. And I think in a lot of ways they made the right move to do that. I think you have a lot of fans that wish, including myself, that they would have gone directly to the royal blue ball and glove with the pinstripe white jersey with the royal blue pinstripe, and my favorite jersey of all time, the baby blue road jersey, like you've seen me in my number 15 Cecil Cooper jersey on some of our road trips. But if they're not going to do those two, I think they probably did as well as they could have.
What are your 2 favorite jerseys out of the 4 new uniforms?
I've got to go with the cream home jersey. I love the use of cream, going back to old school baseball, going back to the 50s uniforms, like with the Milwaukee Braves, the New York Giants, the San Francisco Giants still use
they do.
their cream jersey. I think it's a good move in that sense. And then the navy blue alternate road jersey. I'm a big fan of that one.
I love pinstripes, and the Yankees pinstripes being so iconic. I like what the Brewers did with those navy pinstripe uniforms. I really like them. And the navy blue uniforms, I love. Amazing. One thing that I really like about it is on all the jerseys is how the font in baseball it used to be this, and now it's getting smaller. The Brewers were like, okay, we're not keeping that charm, we're going to go big. And they went big with that font, and I'm a big fan of the big font. Free agency. For the Brewers, it's a big thing. Mike Moustakas declined his option. Brewers fans, I'm sorry to tell you, if you have not heard yet, Yasmani Grandal signed a 4-year, $73 million contract.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. It's a record-breaking contract compared to Jose Abreu, who's had a $43 million contract that he just signed with the White Sox. And after that, what are the Brewers going to do at catcher? Manny Payne is good enough. Don't worry. But pitching. The Brewers need pitching. I think that they should get Steven Strasburg over Garrett Cole. And I would say it's better to get Steven Strasburg than Garrett Cole. Then at third base, Mike Moustakas, Anthony Rendon, or Josh Donaldson. I love Mike Moustakas. He's one of my favorite players. He's really nice. But But Anthony Rendon is who I would want as a Brewers fan. He was so good in the playoffs. Him and Juan Soto were amazing. And I think that if I was to make the choice, I would go Anthony Rendon. The Brewers don't have the money, though. That's a big thing that is just not gonna work well at third base. I think they can do a Ryan Braun, Corey Spangenberg at third base duo. Then in the outfield, if Ryan Braun's leaving the outfield, and Ben Gamble I don't want as a starter, who is going to be doing it? Who's going to be doing it? Nick Castellanos or Marcell Ozuna? Ozuna played right field in Miami. Castellanos is a right fielder. He was really good with the Cubs. And I think they go with Castellanos. He's a really, really talented player. I think he could really fill in right field. Christian Yelich played left field in Miami. I think he can go back to left field where he was playing so well in Miami. This is a fun topic for me especially. Unrealistic trade talks.
It's a topic that is not near and dear to my heart. I don't like spending my time on it because it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
But he loves to talk about it, so I'll bring it in.
It's funny to think about. And the first one I'm gonna be bringing to you guys is a trade that could help the Brewers with the philosophy you already heard of is getting guys that are gonna help the Brewers long term. So this is the trade. It's it's Junior Guerra, Corbin Burns, and some Mark Mathias, who I talked about in this video, and Jacob Nottingham, and there's some prospects, not big ones that like Corey Ray or Tristan Lutz, but not those guys, but guys that they're going to be sending away to the Dodgers for. So I think it's like a 10 guys that have the Brewers giving up to the Dodgers for, or I think it's like 10-13 for the number 2 prospect in baseball, Gavin Lux, who is very good. He's a second baseman and shortstop, and I think he would be good for the Brewers. And just on top of it, he's from Kenosha, and then 3 pitchers. Dustin May, number 85, he's a pitcher on the Dodgers. He pitched in the playoffs. Tony Gonsolin, I don't know if he made an appearance, but he's another starting pitcher for the Dodgers in their organization that's right on the verge of coming up. Dennis Santana, a reliever for the Dodgers, who played last year, and he's pretty good. Will Smith, who is a top catcher in the MLB.
Not the former Brewers pitcher.
When I first saw a YouTube video that the Dodgers did on Will Smith, I thought it was the same Will Smith because they also have the same. No, they don't have the same number. Will Smith on the Dodgers is 16. Will Smith now on the Braves is 15. So, Will Smith, who's a good catcher, he can back up Manny Pena. And then finally, Matt Beatty. He hit a walk-off home run in September, and he just did a really good job for the Dodgers at first base. I'm really interested in him. I think he could help the Brewers, and this trade would help the Brewers prospect-wise, and I think it would work.
You've come up with, what, a 17-player trade between the Brewers and Dodgers? 17 players between 2 teams?
I don't know. I don't remember how many players the Brewers would be giving up, but they would be giving up a lot.
So you're talking about giving up about 30% of your 40-man roster. 30% of your 40-man roster.
Incorrect.
Somewhere around there.
It's a 26-man roster, and most of these guys you probably I'd have to go through the list of the guys. I don't have a list in my notebook, but I have a list upstairs. Next week, might be doing this again. We might be doing some basketball buddies.
We'll find out.
We'll see which one we're doing. And until then, have a great day. Have a great week. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And so long.
Happy Thanksgiving. We will be in a much colder climate than we are in about 60, 65 degree Charleston, West Virginia.
It is warm here.
Happy Thanksgiving. Mommy, can I borrow your bazooka for some silly string?